Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Begum with you on this Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, Beijing's released a white paper on China's principles, proposals, and actions on global governance. Myanmar's president has visited China Railway Construction Corporation in Beijing amid his ongoing state visit in China. And Mexico's developments in the spotlight as the country hosts its third edition of football's World Cup. In business, China's most influential annual financial conference is underway in Shanghai. In sports, Lionel Messi launches Argentina's World Cup with a masterful performance. In culture and entertainment, Hollywood veteran Janet Young at the Shanghai International Film Festival. Now checking the day's top stories. China's released a white paper on its principles, proposals, and actions on global governance. The document outlines the efforts China's made to uphold multilateralism and wisdom to promote a better world. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi says the country has consistently played an active role in this area and that China stands ready to work with other countries to reinvigorate and strengthen the UN. Zhao Yunfei has details.
Seeking answers to the challenges of the times, China has put forward its principles, proposals, and actions to implement the Global Governance Initiative.
The Global Governance Initiative has evolved from a Chinese proposal into international practice, increasingly demonstrating strong vitality.
Since the initiative was first proposed last September, it has gained support from nearly 160 countries and international organizations. Over 60 countries have joined the Group of Friends of Global Governance. China believes that extensive consultation and joint contributions for shared benefit are grounded in respect and learning among civilizations.
We are actively promoting the integration of the agenda for exchanges among civilizations with that of global governance, fully leveraging the guiding role of the Global Civilization Initiative and contributing the strength of civilizations to the reform and improvement of global governance.
The white paper expressed concerns over the unstable world, saying that the number of armed conflicts in 2025 have reached a new high since the end of World War II. It also specified China's commitment to the cause of global governance. According to the white paper, China is the second largest contributor to the UN peacekeeping budget and the largest troop contributor among the permanent members of the UN Security Council. China has been upholding free trade and multilateralism, being a major trading partner of over 160 countries and regions, and has signed the Belt and Road Cooperation document with over 150 countries and 30 international organizations.
As the world enters a new period of turbulence and transformation, we need more than ever to revitalize multilateralism, uphold the rule of law, and enhance governance effectiveness.
As a responsible major country, China's proposal is a commitment to upholding international rules and laws, an endeavor for the well-being of humanity.
That was Zhao Yunfei reporting. The white paper aims to foster broader consensus within the international community, ensure more effective response to global challenges, and build a more just and equitable global governance system. Xia Cheng has more on the white paper.
The white paper says the international landscape is facing profound changes on an unprecedented scale. Last year, the number of armed conflicts reached a new high since World War II, with over 50 nations directly embroiled in conflict or war. Overall progress in the implementation of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals has lagged far behind, with nearly 80% of accessible targets progressing slowly or even regressing. New challenges are arising in quick succession, with multiple crises intertwining and accumulating. The white paper says the law of the jungle seriously undermines the international rule of law. Unilateralism and hegemonism cause only grave harm. Deglobalization and protectionism are on the rise, while economic and trade issues are being politicized, instrumentalized, and weaponized. The white paper stresses the imperative to shore up the governance system. It also says more voices from the global south, which contributes 80% to global economic growth, need to be heard. The white paper says the Global Governance Initiative, which was proposed by China in September 2025, responds to the challenges of the times. It says the initiative upholds the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and embraces a global governance vision that is characterized by extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits. The Global Governance Initiative is built on 5 core concepts: sovereign equality, the international rule of law, multilateralism, a people-centered approach, and real actions. The white paper says rigorously enforcing the international rule of law is rooted in upholding the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. Countries should be firm in promoting multilateral dialogue, consultation, and cooperation. It also calls for coordinating overall progress and individual breakthroughs and synergizing North-South cooperation and South-South cooperation. The white paper says China has been making contributions to promoting global governance. The country firmly safeguards world peace under the framework of the United Nations. It also pioneers the use of a unique Chinese approach to address international relations. On the Israel-Palestine conflict, China has provided emergency humanitarian assistance to Gaza and taken a clear stand in support of the two-state solution. The country has also facilitated the historic reconciliation and restoration of diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran. The white paper says China promotes openness, cooperation, and common development, and practices true multilateralism. It supports the Global South in playing a greater role and promotes exchanges and mutual learning among civilizations. It also says China provides more public goods for the international community. It's been firmly leading global climate governance, committing to peak carbon dioxide emissions before 2030 and achieving carbon neutrality before 2060. It also aims to advance the development of artificial intelligence for good and for all. China has put forward the Global AI Governance Initiative, advocating a people-centered and AI for good approach.
That was Xie Cheng on China's white paper on global governance. Professor Wang Wen with Renmin University of China says the country is building bridges instead of walls through the initiatives it proposes.
China pushing global governance to truly shift from the hegemonic logic of a few people having the final say to a logic of everyone discussing and designing matters together based on multi-party consultation, jointly construction, and shared benefits. China's concept of people-centeredness and world for all are not some narrow political ideology, but rather the highest common denominator of human civilization. We never export our model and demand that other countries replicate China's system. So we are building bridges and roads, not constructing walls and the civilian chains.
Well, he adds that China's practices are reshaping the underlying logic of the world order.
Great power standards implies great power responsibility, not great power privilege. They resolve problems through sanctions and war. We resolve problems through investment, construction, and mediation. So I think China now is an active participant in global governance, not a merely talker. China global governance practice are profoundly reshaping the underlying logic of the world order.
He also says that China is seeking a global order based on cooperation and shared benefits. Global officials say China's Global Governance Initiative offers a cooperative framework for the Global South amid challenges and crises. Pakistani Ambassador to the WTO Ali Sarfraz Hussain is one of them.
The Global Governance Initiative provides a framework on the basis of which the Global South can not only cooperate, but the Global South can also drive the global GDP, the global growth, and the global good.
Former Egyptian Immigration Minister Soha Gendi says the Global Governance Initiative provides new hope.
Actually, the Global Governance Initiative launched by China is coming at a very difficult time. It's coming at a time where the multilateralism the system of multilateralism, specifically the UN and so many other UN organs and institutions are just coming to a phase where they are frozen at so many difficult issues, issues of different interests to so many countries. Maybe with this initiative, we are being given a new hope.
Chinese President Xi Jinping unveiled the Global Governance Initiative while addressing the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Plus meeting in Tianjin in September. Coming up, Myanmar's president has visited the Beijing headquarters of a Chinese railway firm.
A Chinese car maker, a Japanese factory, a British production line. Could this be the future of the global auto industry? As Chery considers building vehicles at Nissan's Sunderland plant, we examine whether this is simply a business deal or a sign of a new phase in China's automotive globalization. Why are Chinese makers shifting from exporting vehicles to building overseas production networks? How likely is this partnership move beyond an MOU? And amid political, regulatory, and market uncertainties, could this become a blueprint for China's global expansion or a cautionary tale? Get all these and more at this week's Chat Lounge, wherever you listen to podcasts, and on CGTN Radio.
It's 11 minutes past the hour. Myanmar President Min Aung Hlaing's continuing his state visit in China. On Wednesday, he visited China Railway Construction Corporation in Beijing. The company entered the Myanmar market in the 1980s and has since participated in a range of local infrastructure projects, such as the Yangon Dala Bridge. The Myanmar president attended the official opening ceremony of that bridge back in February. Economic and trade ties between China and Myanmar took center stage at the now concluded 10th China-South Asia Expo, with businesses from the two sides exploring new opportunities for cooperation. Yang Jinghao visited the expo to find out more.
These varieties of rice come from Myanmar, one of the world's major rice-producing countries. Myanmar companies are using the 10th China-South Asia Expo to promote their products to Chinese consumers.
This is Pa San rice, one of the most popular rice varieties in Myanmar. The broken rice in the middle is mainly exported to China to make rice noodles and other products. The rice on the left is a premium variety and goes through a sophisticated processing process.
The rice industry is just one example of the close trade relationship. Chinese-made machinery plays an important role in Myanmar's rice cultivation and processing, while China's also become one of the country's key export destinations for rice.
Last year we exported about 500,000 metric tons and to China out of the export volume of 2.7 million metric tons. And in this coming year we plan to export about 3 million metric tons. That's our target. We are trying to see more to the China market as well. That's because China is the second largest market for our country export.
Rice is just one example of the goods traded between China and Myanmar. Beyond agriculture, many more signature products from the country are on display here, highlighting the strong potential for bilateral cooperation. From jewelry and coffee to handicrafts, a diverse range of exhibits showcase Myanmar's rich culture and expanding industrial capabilities. This company is one of Myanmar's leading food manufacturers, specializing in instant noodles and vermicelli, and began exploring opportunities in the Chinese market this year.
We are looking for more distributors as the China is very big. So like every province, we will have one or two distributors to sell our product and promote our product through online and offline.
Official figures show bilateral trade between China and Myanmar reached $19.4 billion in 2025. Marking a 19% year-on-year increase. That momentum has carried into 2026, with the trade during the first 2 months jumping by more than 50% from the same period a year earlier.
Looking ahead, we also are seeking the deeper cooperation with China, especially with Yunnan, in the areas such as modern technologies and coffee industry. And also, I look forward to expand our cooperation with Yunnan in cross-border trade, tourism development, and investment promotion.
as the China-Myanmar economic corridor continues to move forward. Expanding flows of trade, investment, and exchange are expected to further strengthen ties between the two neighboring countries.
That was Yang Jinghao on the China-South Asia Expo. Singaporean Parliament Speaker Sia Kianpeng has held talks with Chinese business people and lawmakers on some of the most pressing governance questions of the time during a 6-day visit to China last week, which took him from Fujian to Beijing. Feng Yilei spoke with him to hear what his visit means for China-Singapore relations.
You've toured several high-end industries in China, including aviation manufacturing, biomedicine. What fresh potential do you see for China-Singapore cooperation in those cutting-edge fields?
Well, first, it's been a very interesting, a very productive trip for me. It's what I call good busy. What did not surprise me was how pace of change has been. Each time I come to China, you can see that things have moved. It reflects the dynamism, it reflects the high energy of the people. It also reflects how the society here has embraced innovation, has embraced technology, and also understand the need to transform and to change. I'm quite sure that Chinese companies, as well as joint venture companies here, have found the business environment here interesting, with the enthusiasm to embrace innovation, to adopt technology. I think a lot of new solutions will be found. And this can only be good for people, good for the community, and also good for the world.
With exchanges between our two legislative bodies as an opportunity, how can China and Singapore jointly contribute to global digital governance?
Well, we recognize the many advantages that AI can bring. We also recognize that there are certain areas that we need to put some guardrails around it. Because used wrongly, it can also create problems for people and for the community. Well, not many countries, not many legislatures are looking at it. Some are probably looking at a wait-and-see attitude. Some are looking towards both China and Singapore to see what we do. And in this regard, I think Chinese companies, I think in terms of the adoption of digital, you're in the digital frontier in many aspects. And this is one area which I think Chinese leadership will be very helpful for us. And the preparedness to share these lessons with Singapore, with ASEAN, I think this will allow the region also to progress along with China.
And given the current geopolitical background, what are your expectations for strengthening cooperation and coordination between our legislative bodies in multilateral forums so as to uphold multilateralism and promote the regional and global stability and development?
Indeed, unfortunately, in the current geopolitical environment, uncertainties are more prevalent, and more conflicts, certainly more conflicts in the world than ever before. We are happy that close partners like Singapore and China and other like-minded partners, we support free trade, we support multilateralism. As this year, China takes the chair of the APEC, we'll be hosting the APEC Leaders Summit later part of this year. Next year, Singapore takes over the chair as ASEAN. I am cautiously optimistic that notwithstanding the current geopolitical environment, I think as we work on it, we can gather more like-minded countries, partners, to join us on this journey and to speak out with a strong, clear, consistent voice.
Singaporean Parliament Speaker Sia Kianpeng. Coming up, Mexico's in the spotlight as the country hosts its third Football World Cup.
You've been listening to programs from CGTN Radio.
CGTN Radio.
We invite you to visit us online for more audio, pictures, and in-depth reports. At radio.cgtn.com, you can access a wide range of programs and find your favorite news, talk, features, entertainment shows, and podcasts. Hear the difference with CGTN Radio.
It's 20 past the hour. Mexico has become the first country to host the FIFA World Cup 3 times. In 1970, it introduced the tournament to color television. In 1986, it delivered a World Cup despite a devastating earthquake. And this year welcomes the world once again as a co-host alongside the United States and Canada. Mexican football writer Carlos Calderon spoke with Lei Xiangping about how the World Cup has mirrored Mexico's own transformation.
Carlos Calderon has spent years documenting World Cup history. In 2022, he published anecdotes of the World Cup, tracing Mexico's journey as a participant and host from 1930 to 2022. He says the 1970 World Cup was a milestone not only for football, but for Mexico itself. It was the first World Cup held in North America and the first broadcast in color. Mexico also took this opportunity to upgrade its infrastructure and expand its road network.
The
1970 World Cup had profound impact. Beyond sport, Mexico used it to show the world who we were as a society. People saw the warmth and friendliness of Mexicans. The government invested heavily in transportation and completed major infrastructure projects before the tournament.
It was also at Mexico City's Azteca Stadium that Pelé lifted his third World Cup trophy, cementing his place in football history. But Mexico's second World Cup nearly never happened. 9 months before the 1986 tournament, an 8.1 magnitude earthquake struck Mexico City, killing thousands and causing widespread destruction. Many doubted the country could still host the event.
People thought it would be impossible, but Mexicans proved they could overcome any crisis. The World Cup actually accelerated the reconstruction. The government increased investment, damaged buildings were rebuilt faster, and transport and communications were improved.
The tournament went ahead on schedule, and once again Azteca Stadium witnessed history, as Diego Maradona scored the controversial hand-of-God goal and the unforgettable goal of the century. Now, 4 decades later, Mexico is the host for 13 matches as part of a joint tournament with the United States and Canada. But Calderon says football itself has changed.
The 3 eras are completely different. Football used to feel more romantic. Fans could get close to the players and tickets were affordable. Today, prices are extremely high and the security is much stricter. The atmosphere isn't the same.
From Pelé in 1917 to Maradona in 1986, Mexico has provided the stage for football's greatest legends. Who will define 2026 remains to be seen. More than half a century after its first World Cup, Mexico continues to evolve. Stadiums have changed, generations of players have come and gone, but the game endures, reflecting the story of a nation through the world's most popular sport. For the Beijing Hour, this is Lei Xiangping.
Leaders of the Group of Seven have discussed the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding. U.S. President Donald Trump criticized Israel, saying it does not need to bomb entire apartment buildings in Lebanon to target Hezbollah militants. Jen Sullivan with CNN has more.
President Donald Trump meeting with world leaders on Tuesday at the annual G7 summit in France. One of the key discussions on the agenda, the U.S. and Iran agreement to end the war. But few details have been released about the exact terms of the negotiations, which is officially called a Memorandum of Understanding.
Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. And it says it loud and clear. They're not going to develop it. They're not going to buy it. They're not going to do anything with it. Without me, there would be no Israel, because no other president was willing to do what I did. I've had a great relationship with Bibi, but now Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon.
It's been more than 100 days since U.S. and Israeli forces first launched strikes on Iran. Since then, the U.S. and Iran have tried several times to reach a peace deal. All along, Iran has demanded Israel withdraw from Lebanon. Yet over the weekend, Israeli forces were striking Lebanon's capital city, Beirut. An Israeli source telling CNN that Israel asked to see the terms of the agreement with Iran, but was denied.
Perhaps Israel would oppose many aspects of this deal. We don't know the final draft yet.
Meanwhile, back in the U.S., many leaders are frustrated that details of the agreement are not being shared with Congress. Trump did tell reporters at the summit that he would send it.
That was Jen Sullivan reporting. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says ending the war must include Israel's withdrawal from Lebanon. He warns that Tehran will view any Israeli attack on Lebanese territory as a violation of the Iran-U.S. agreement.
The end of the war in Lebanon is an inseparable part of complete end of the war. And the end of the war also includes the end of the occupation. Without the withdrawal of Israeli forces from the territories they occupied during this war, the war has not fully come to an end. And definitely any military attack against Lebanon from this point forward, as well as the continued occupation of Lebanese territory from this point forward, will be considered by us a violation of the Memorandum of Understanding.
Tehran says Israel has breached the ceasefire in Lebanon 84 times since the agreement was announced. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance says a $300 billion reconstruction fund could be made available to Iran as part of the peace deal. The White House says those obligations include dismantling Iran's nuclear program, eliminating its enriched uranium stockpile, and accepting international inspections. Reports in the U.S. say Washington plans to work alongside its Gulf partners on a plan for Iran's rehabilitation and economic development. Implementation details are expected to be discussed during a 60-day window following the official signing in Switzerland of the Memorandum of Understanding scheduled for Friday. The U.S.-Iran memorandum is a framework for negotiations toward a final agreement, which faces major hurdles. The first issue concerns post-war reconstruction funds. Iranian media says the draft MOU requires the U.S. and its allies to provide at least $300 billion for Iran's reconstruction. President Donald Trump says that the U.S. will not put any money into Iran. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance says the amount will be funded by private firms from countries including the U.S., Asia, and the Gulf Arab region. The second disagreement is on the timing of the release of frozen Iranian assets. Iran says the draft MOU requires the release of $24 billion during the 60-day negotiations, with half of the amount made available before talks begin. But U.S. officials say the frozen assets will be dispersed only after Iran fulfills its commitments. The third sticking point is on navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's MOU draft says the crucial waterway will be reopened within 30 days and service fees will be collected. But Trump says the Strait of Hormuz will be fully opened on June 19th, toll-free. A U.S. Special Envoy for Yemen, Hans Grundberg, has urged warring parties to seize the opportunity created by regional de-escalation following the Iran-U.S. deal to revive stalled political talks. Briefing the Security Council, Grundberg said the recent U.S.-Israeli-Iran conflict had so far had limited military impact in Yemen, where the 2022 truce largely holds. However, he warned that regional tensions have added economic pressure on the country.
The recent regional conflict has increased pressure on the Yemeni economy due to the country's import dependence and geopolitical proximity. This is raising the cost of imported food and fuel, amplifying inflationary pressures, and in recent weeks there have been protests in Aden and other governorates of electricity shortages amid the summer heat.
Grundberg has called on all sides to use this moment for a sustainable political settlement, adding that the UN remains committed to supporting the Yemeni people. We're at 29 past the hour. Beijing, cloudy overnight, overcast tomorrow. A low of 21. It's up to 31 on Thursday. Shanghai will be overcast tonight. Moderate rainfall developing for tomorrow. A low of 23 and a high of 31. Chongqing has rainstorms this evening. They ease to light rain tomorrow. A low of 23, a high of 29. Nanchang will be getting thunder showers tonight and tomorrow. A low of 26 and a high of 30. Lhasa has a light rainfall tonight, becoming cloudy on Thursday. A low of 13 and a high of 26. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad's getting a light rainfall through tomorrow. A low of 26 degrees is up to 36 on Thursday. Vientiane will have a light rainfall tonight, becoming moderate rain tomorrow. A low of 25 and a high of 33. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, Beijing's released a white paper on China's principles, proposals, and actions on global governance. Myanmar's president has visited China Railway Construction Corporation in Beijing amid his ongoing state visit in China. And Mexico's developments in the spotlight as the country hosts its third edition of football's World Cup. Shane Bigham with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
From the refreshing cup of tea that starts your morning to the paper that you write on, the roots of many familiar parts of modern life can be traced back to ancient ideas. Join us on Made in Ancient China and discover how ideas born millennia ago became some of the world's greatest treasures. Made in Ancient China brings you stories of human ambition, inspiration, and connection. Now available on all major podcast platforms.
Shh, listen up. Can you hear the heartbeat of our world? It's vibrant and pulsating with the essence of life itself. From the stem of trees to the gurgle of rivers. From the silent strength of mountains to the icy whispers of glaciers. Even the solid ground beneath our feet. Right there, in the midst of all, beats the heart of humanity. What if those other heartbeats were to stop? Would ours keep on ticking?
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Wednesday. Still to come. In business, China's most influential annual financial conference is underway in Shanghai. In sports, Lionel Messi launches Argentina's World Cup with a masterful performance. In culture and entertainment, Hollywood veteran Janet Young at the Shanghai International Film Festival. To contact us, you can email radio@cgtn.com or follow our X account at CGTN Radio. You're also welcome to subscribe to our Substack newsletter Beyond Beijing for the world's biggest stories, along with sharp insights and exclusive analysis. But first of all, checking the day's headlines, here's Tianli.
Thank you, Shane. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has reiterated the country's commitment to help Pakistan restore peace in the Middle East as soon as possible. He made the remarks in a phone call with his Pakistani counterpart Mohammad Ishaq Dar. Wang said China stands ready to work with Pakistan to advance dialogue and pursue efforts for the early restoration of stability and development in the region. He congratulated Pakistan on the US-Iran Memorandum of Understanding. Ishaq Dar thanked China for supporting Pakistan's mediation efforts. He said Pakistan looks forward to continuing playing a positive role with China in achieving the region's lasting peace and stability. A briefing on 7 multilateral cooperation platforms between China and Pacific Island countries has taken place in Nanjing. Special Envoy Chen Bo said the platforms have tapped local resources aligned with the actual needs of Pacific nations and advanced cooperation. He noted they have played a significant role in boosting climate response, disaster relief, agricultural development, poverty reduction, and policing. The platforms were established to support development and implement consensus from previous foreign ministers' meetings. Over 100 participants attended, including diplomats from 8 Pacific nations. They also included representatives from universities, think tanks, and enterprises. The 27th Chinese medical team to Sierra Leone has held a health outreach in Waterloo near the capital Freetown to mark the International Day of the African Children. The team provided free medical consultations to children from a local orphanage and nearby schools. Specialists in ophthalmology, pediatrics, internal medicine, and surgery examined over 50 children, identifying conditions such as refractive errors, peptic ulcers, and umbilical hernias, and offered follow-up care plans. The team also organized recreational and educational activities for more than 200 students and donated school bags, stationery, toys, and food. The United Nations has reported that displaced families in southern Lebanon have begun returning home following news of a US-Iran deal. The UN Humanitarian Office says some families are cautiously returning to their communities of origin following the announcement of an agreement between the United States and Iran, which reportedly includes the cessation of hostilities in Lebanon. Lebanese authorities said the number of people in shelters has dropped by about 10,000 over the past 4 days. However, it remains unclear if these movements are permanent returns or just temporary visits to check on property. The UN warned that violent incidents continue to be reported, hindering safe travel. Despite the agreement, Israeli authorities said their forces will maintain an indefinite military presence in the south. Meanwhile, the UN peacekeeping mission noted a decrease in overall violence and exchanges of fire in the region. In northern Gaza, displaced families are trapped in overcrowded tent camps near sewage facilities with no space left to move. Ikrami Juma says his family has been displaced 6 times and now endures foul odors, insects and disease.
We have been displaced more than once, about 6 times, and in the end we reached this place. We could not find anywhere else in the Gaza Strip. We are now forced to endure this place, despite all the suffering and that we live through.
The UN reported that most of Gaza's population remains displaced in areas that are becoming increasingly cramped and overcrowded.
All right, thank you very much. That's Tian Li with headlines. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in business, China's most influential annual financial conference is underway in Shanghai.
The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
36 past the hour. Stock markets on the Chinese mainland closed higher on Wednesday. The Shanghai Composite was up around 0.4%. The Shenzhen Component gained over 1.3%. Glass, fiber, and semiconductor shares were among the top gainers. In Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index decreased more than 0.7%. Japan's Nikkei increased over 0.7%. The 2026 Lu Jiazui Forum, one of China's most influential annual financial conferences, is underway in Shanghai. The 2-day event gathers more than 70 financial policymakers, regulators, and industry leaders from around the world to discuss financial cooperation under the Global Governance Initiative. Wang Tianyu has more.
The Lu Jiazui Forum is one of China's top financial meetings, and since 2008, it has become a key platform for financial policy direction, unveiling, and advancing financial opening up. And this year's theme is financial development and cooperation under global governance initiatives, new vision, new challenges, and new opportunities. It comes at a time when China just released a white paper on the global governance, and it underscores the broader policy context behind this year's discussions. This year, it's all about offshore finance.
We will support Shanghai in pioneering offshore finance, and we will launch a new action plan soon aimed at building an offshore financial system that matches the city's status as an international financial center. We will pilot businesses including offshore trade financing, bonds, reinsurance, and RMB trading, while expanding related products and improving the regulatory framework.
The forum is jointly hosted by China's central bank, financial regulators, and the Shanghai municipal government. On one hand, officials called for stronger regulation and tougher action against market misconduct. On the other, they pledged to further open up China's capital markets.
We will further develop a multi-level financial market system, including technology-focused segments in both equity and bond markets. By expanding financial products and improving market inclusiveness, we aim to better serve companies of all sizes and stages of growth, strengthen support for technological innovation, and attract more long-term investment into capital markets.
During the forum, participants will also explore how technology is reshaping the financial sector, from innovation in financial services to building stronger support systems for the real economy. And at this year's forum, the Vice Premier He Lifeng delivered an 18-minute keynote speech. He is seen as one of the most senior central government officials to attend this forum. in person in 7 years. And last time it was 2019 by the former Vice Premier Liu He. And so in He Lifeng's remarks, he highlighted China's push to accelerate the development of offshore finance and strengthen financial regulation. He also stressed peaceful coexistence and win-win cooperation under international rule and multilateralism. He said China will continue to improve its financial legal framework and safeguard financial security.
That was Wang Tianyu reporting. Overseas investors held about $600 billion of Chinese equities at the end of the first quarter. According to the State Administration of Foreign Exchange, foreign investor holdings of Chinese information technology stocks exceeded $90 billion by the end of March. The country's actual use of foreign investment surpassed $100 billion in 2025, with high-tech industries accounting for roughly one-third of the total. Foreign investment in medical equipment increased 42%, while that in aerospace rose 23%. As China and Germany deepen cooperation across key sectors, including automotive, chemicals, and machinery manufacturing, German companies are weighing growth opportunities against challenges arising from trade tensions and geopolitical uncertainty. BRAN spoke with Michael Kern, the executive director for East China at the German Chamber of Commerce in China, about the bilateral business environment and the competitiveness of German firms in the Chinese market.
We know following German Chancellor Merkel's successful visit to China in February, the China-Germany relations have entered a new phase. What positive signals do you think this high-level engagement send to German companies in China? And what new opportunities in economic cooperation are most worth noting?
I completely agree, and these high-level political visits are much appreciated, especially also by the German companies active here in China, because they show the possibility to optimize economic framework, circumstances for doing business here. It was a beginning of a couple of series of political visits, and this is also perhaps an interesting momentum to arrange also a roundtable for investing in Germany, where also Chinese companies had the possibility to showcase and to present their business model. So this emphasized that, of course, Germany is interested in a continued dialogue.
Amid growing trade protectionism tendency in the EU, German companies have long been deeply invested in Chinese market. So how do you evaluate China's strategic value in this context? And how do these factors influence German companies' willingness or capability to invest or expand in China?
Yes, first of all, and it's very important that you mention that German companies are very often or almost all the time interested in long-term investments, long-term relationships. Facing these challenges which we see at the moment, also on a geopolitical basis, of course, they also have to adjust, so they stay committed. That shows the results of our survey, where more than 90% of the companies which we ask intend to stay, intend to invest here. They also intend to diversify, and this is a kind of risk management they are implementing now to face these challenges which we see worldwide concerning, let's say, rising tariffs, concerning geopolitical uncertainty. But at the end of the day, they base their investment and their economic activities on fundamental economic data. They are going to invest, they're going to stay. And more than 60% of them also will invest and are going to invest in the future in order to stay competitive, to deliver products for the Chinese market and partnering up more and more with Chinese companies, also potentially serving global markets.
That was Michael Kern from the German Chamber of Commerce in China, talking about China-Germany cooperation. China successfully launched the latest satellite of the Shenzhen series of scientific exploration and technology test satellites, a program that dates back more than half a century. Shenzhen 31 has entered its intended orbit following the launch on Tuesday. It's primarily designed for space environment studies. China's long-standing Shenzhen series began in 1971 with Shenzhen 1, the country's first satellite to measure space environment parameters like magnetic fields, X-rays, and cosmic rays. The series hit a milestone in 1999 with Shenzhen 5, as it became China's first small satellite built under a common bus platform, advancing the nation's small satellite technology to world-class levels. The World Economic Forum's annual meeting of the new champions, also known as the Summer Davos Forum, will take place in northeast China next week. Organizers say more than 1,700 participants from over 90 countries and regions will attend the meeting in Dalian from Tuesday to Thursday. This year's meeting, themed Innovating at Scale, will feature discussions on topics including the next phase of China's economic trajectory and how to translate technological advances into real economic benefits. The National Development and Reform Commission says the meeting will focus on frontier fields such as artificial intelligence, new energy, and quantum technology. It also says the forum is expected to showcase China's achievements in high-quality economic development to the international community. Established by the World Economic Forum in 2007, the Summer Davos Forum is held annually in China, alternating between Tianjin and Dalian. The 7th Qingdao Multinational Summit has brought together global industry leaders in the Chinese market. Against a backdrop of rising global protectionism and shifting supply chains, attendees increasingly view China's 15th Five-Year Plan and its commitment to institutional opening up as a crucial economic stabilizer. By championing rules-based multilateralism and driving tangible development initiatives, China is not only creating predictable market opportunities for multinationals, but also effectively amplifying the voice and development priorities of the Global South. The Central Bank of France has sharply lowered its forecast for the country's GDP growth this year, saying economic activity proved less resilient than expected early this year. According to the bank, French economic growth will likely be just 0.5% this year instead of 0.9% as previously forecast. And this comes as it expects second quarter GDP to have flatlined. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, Lionel Messi launches Argentina's World Cup with a masterful performance.
Sideline Story brings you all things sports related. The hottest topics, latest events, juiciest stories, all with a very personal take. Subscribe to Sideline Story Podcast for heated sports discussions covering events that are happening in China and around the world.
47 past, and turning to sports now. Here's Yang Guang.
Thank you, Shane. Lionel Messi marked a historic night by scoring the hat-trick to lead Argentina to a 3-0 victory over Algeria in their World Cup opener in Kansas City. Dwayne saw the defending champions start their title defense in style, with Messi also becoming the first player to appear in 6 World Cups. The match began with early drama as Messi had an opening goal ruled out for offside, while Algeria also saw an effort disallowed soon after. The breakthrough eventually came in the 17th minute when Messi struck from distance with the ball deflecting past the goalkeeper. He doubled Argentina's lead in the second half, reacting quickest to a rebound inside the box before completing his hat-trick shortly after to seal a commanding win. Along the way, Messi also equaled all-time World Cup scoring records and reached several personal milestones, including surpassing 20 World Cup goal contributions. Despite the records, Messi was quick to downplay personal achievements.
Like I say, everything I'm experiencing right now is amazing. I was lucky enough to achieve all my dreams, or even more than I could have hoped for, both individually and as part of a team. Today, I'm enjoying all of this, having a wonderful team, feeling good, and being lucky enough to enjoy it on the field just the way I've always liked.
With more game analysis, Tian Yu joins us in the studio. Let me ask you this. After Argentina's 3-0 win over Algeria, are they the team to beat in this World Cup?
Yeah, I think they're definitely right at the top of the list. You know, everyone will talk about Messi's hat-trick, and rightly so, because at almost 39 years old, he's still producing moments that few players can. But about the game, what impressed me the most was actually Argentina's balance, because Algeria actually had spells of possession in the game and tried to, build from back patiently, but yet Argentina never looked uncomfortable on the pitch. So when you combine Messi's brilliance with such a solid defensive structure, I think it's easy to see why the reigning champions remain one of the favorites.
Right, now France launched their World Cup campaign with a convincing 3-1 victory over Senegal in Group I. Captain Kylian Mbappe scored twice and became France's all-time leading men's international goal scorer. The win in New Jersey gave France a strong start to the tournament and put them in a promising position ahead of upcoming matches matches against Iraq and Norway. After a scoreless first half, France found them rhythm back after the break. Mbappe opened scoring midway through the second half before substitute Bradley Barcola doubled the advantage late on. Senegal briefly threatened the comeback with a stoppage time goal, but Mbappe quickly restored France's 2-goal cushion with his second of the night to seal a 3-1 result. The brace saw Mbappe move past the France great Olivier Giroud on the national scoring charts, while also climbing higher among the World Cup's all-time goal scorers. Following the match, Mbappe said he was proud of the achievement, but remained focused on helping France pursue World Cup success.
I'm really happy. I'm really happy to be able to become even more of a part of my country's history. It's always something I've really wanted to do, and I've always played that about everything else. Now we know why we're here. I think we will have time to think about that kind of thing later when I stop playing. Right now I know why I'm here. I'm here to help the team, to continue with my teammates, and we're going to keep trying to write a really big chapter in the history of the France team. And we know the path will be very long, but as I said, we are ready.
Now, Tianyu, France beat Senegal 3-1. What was the biggest takeaway from that performance?
Well, for me, I think it's the variety they have in attack, because I think the French squad doesn't rely on just one player or one style. Kylian Mbappe is obviously the headline star, but players like Michael Olise, Ousmane Dembele, and Barcola, they all bring something different. And Olise's assist for Mbappe was a perfect example of that kind of, creativity. And what makes France so dangerous is that they can hurt teams in so many ways. So yeah, I think just after one game, they already look like a team that's able to go all the way.
Right, that was Tian Yu with the game analysis for the World Cup games. Now, Norway returned to the FIFA World Cup after a 28-year absence with an impressive 4-1 victory over Iraq in Group I. Erling Haaland stole the spotlight in his World Cup debut, scoring twice as Norway secured all 3 points and moved to the top of the group on goal difference ahead of France. The Manchester City striker opened scoring in the first half before adding another after a defensive mistake from Iraq. Iraq briefly leveled through Ayman Hussein, but Norway regained control and added 2 more goals after the break to seal a convincing win. Haaland played down suggestions that he's currently the world's top goal scorer.
Goal scorer, I will say I'm up there. I don't think I scored the most goals this season, so statistically, no, I'm not. Because I think Harry Kane and Mbappe scored more goals than me, and that's a reality, so no, I'm not. I think today you saw the same energy, I will say. You have to decide this, but I think when I think about how I played today, I think I played in the same way, so it's about continuing. Don't think too much. It's difficult at this stage, but focus on next, and of course be happy, but also stay calm.
The result marks a successful return to football's biggest stage for Norway, whose last World Cup appearance came in 1998. Iraq, playing in their first World Cup since 1986, will look to bounce back in its next group match.
All right, thank you very much. That was Yang Gong with sports. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in culture and entertainment, Hollywood veteran Janet Young at the Shanghai International Film Festival.
Pulse Plus, a selection of the best podcasts in China, covering history, customs, music, literature, and in-depth dialogues. Find your way to a wealth of Chinese culture and thinking, all on Pulse Plus.
53 past now. Turning to culture and entertainment, the Shanghai International Film Festival has once again brought together filmmakers from around the world to celebrate the power of cinema. And Janet Young's among the guests this year. She's the first Asian American president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and a veteran producer who spent decades building bridges between Hollywood and Asia. Zheng Chuning spoke to her to find out more.
What's your overall impression about this year's Shanghai International Film Festival?
I've been coming here for quite a few decades. I was here for the very first year in '93, and then the second year was in '95. And throughout the 2000s, I've come quite a bit. I love Shanghai, and Shanghai is a film center, and it's always had a very rich history. And I think they'll do well to bring more international films. We talked about the importance and perhaps increasing importance of festivals these days to really help narrow the field a little bit, because it's too hard to identify good projects on one's own. You really need the help of festivals.
And we know that you've spent decades building bridges between Hollywood and Asian films. So what quality of Chinese films do you think resonate with the global audience? And where do you see the greatest potential for collaboration between Chinese filmmakers and the international film communities?
Well, there are a lot of great stories from China, and one of the films I worked on was Over the Moon, and that was at a time as an animated film, and it was inspired by the legend of Chang'e, and she's up there with her bunny rabbit, and there are mooncakes being made, and so we created a story around that. So I think there are elements from Chinese culture that can be very accessible and very relatable. It's about what kind of story you build around it.
And in an era of artificial intelligence, streaming platforms, and rapidly changing viewing habits, what do you think remains irreplaceable about cinema?
Human storytelling, human experiences, human emotion are things that machines can only imitate without that experience. And really, humans are always evolving, and what we want to watch is always changing because it's a combination of a cumulative experience that we're having that is always evolving. And so I don't believe that AI on its own, without human creative authorship, can make things that are memorable.
That was Hollywood producer Jenna Young talking about the global appeal of Chinese films, the future of cross-cultural collaboration, and what makes cinema timeless in the age of streaming and AI. China's film and television industry has taken center stage in Shanghai as part of the 2026 China Movie and TV Night, co-hosted by China Media Group and the Shanghai government. The event also marked the launch of the 2026 Shanghai International Film Festival Egyptian Film Week. A key feature of the event was the CMG Annual Recommendation segment, which recognized outstanding films, television dramas, and creative talents for their contributions to telling Chinese stories and reflecting contemporary society. Vice Chairman In Hong of the China Film Association says the annual recommendations continue to showcase works that resonate with audiences while highlighting the evolving direction of China's screen industry.
The list of CMG Movie and TV Night for each year actually reflects some of the changes and developments in China's film and television industry and in its creation during that year. It focuses on themes and subjects related to people's lives and social progress.
2026 China Movie and TV Night program will air later this month on CCTV3 and across new media platforms. Macau is set to give new life to one of its most iconic heritage landmarks. The city will transform the Dom Pedro V Theater into a venue for immersive stage performances. Macau's Secretary for Social Affairs and Culture said the project will showcase the city's more than 4 centuries of cultural exchange between East and West. The theater is part of the Historic Center of Macau, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We're at 57 past the hour. Checking the forecast before we go for the day. Beijing, cloudy overnight, overcast tomorrow. A low of 21, and it's up to 31 degrees on Thursday. Shanghai will be overcast tonight. Moderate rainfall developing tomorrow. A low of 23 and a high of 31. Chongqing has rainstorms tonight. Those east to light rains tomorrow. A low of 23 and a high of 29. Nanchang will see thunder showers tonight and tomorrow. A low of 26 and a high of 30. Laos is getting a light rainfall this evening. It becomes cloudy tomorrow. A low of 13 and a high of 26. Elsewhere in Asia, Islamabad will see a light rainfall tonight and tomorrow. The low is 26. It's up to 36 on Thursday. And that's it for this edition of the Beijing Hour. Making news today, Beijing's released a white paper on China's principles, proposals, and actions on global governance. And Myanmar's president has visited China Railway Construction Corporation in Beijing amid his ongoing state visit in China. On behalf of the staff, this is Shane Bigham in the Chinese capital, hoping you'll join us for the next edition of the Beijing Hour and open a window to the world together.
Find the Beijing Hour at precisely 6 p.m. Beijing time. We meet you on podcast and on air every weekday. The Beijing Hour, your window on China and the rest of the world.
He can't live without the Yellow River in his eyes.
The Yellow River is so noble and elegant.
Both my grandpa and dad made a living from the river.
Would you like to move away from the Yellow River?
I don't think I will. I love it so much.
The Yellow River, the second longest river in China, is regarded as a shaping force in the history, economy, and culture of northern China. Today, about 100 million people live within its water basin, making up nearly 9% of the country's population. How is climate change felt at its headwaters, and what are the locals doing to cope with it? What are the descendants of the boatmen doing? What has kept some people from leaving their home village by the river, and what has drawn others back? Could the fading fishing community revive in a time of digital transformation? From 2021 to 2024, our reporters visited the upper, middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River, talked to the herders, farmers, boatmen, fishermen and eco-activists who share a close bond with the river, and present their stories in pictures, podcasts and videos, all in our 12-part series, The Yellow River Mosaic, available only on CGTN Radio